I had been waiting for that day since the first time I ever typed an email under the hum of fluorescent office lights. My promotion wasn't just a career milestone, it was proof that years of staying late, fixing other people's mistakes, and keeping my head down had been worth it. I wore my best navy suit, the one I'd saved up for months to buy, and even ironed it twice just to be sure. My hands trembled slightly when I pushed open the heavy glass doors of the company's downtown office tower. The lobby smelled of polished marble and expensive perfume from visiting executives. My heart was racing, but for once it was racing with pride. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video? Then I heard it, my father's voice, sharp and venomous as ever. There she is, the parasite. I froze. My mom and dad were standing right in the middle of the lobby like they owned the place. Mom's lips were twisted into that smirk she always saved for when she knew she could cut me down in front of others. Dad's jaw was tight, and his hands were balled into fists. Behind them, my sister Mariah stood in a glittery coat, snapping gum like this was some kind of show. I whispered, "What are you doing here?" praying that none of my co-workers who were already filing in through the revolving doors were paying attention. Dad didn't lower his voice. He grabbed my arm so hard I felt his nails through my sleeve. "What are we doing here? You tell me, Leech, marching into this place like you belong, stealing promotions that were never yours." "Dad, let go!" I hissed, trying to wrench free, but he yanked harder, dragging me a few steps toward the door. The lobby went quiet. People turned their heads. The receptionist looked up from her computer, eyes wide. Mom laughed loud and cutting. "Don't cry now, sweetheart. You've been nothing but a waste since birth. You think wearing a cheap suit makes you somebody?" She looked around at the strangers watching. "She's a fraud. She doesn't deserve anything. We carried her for years, and she pays us back by playing career woman." My throat burned. I wanted to scream, but the humiliation glued my feet to the marble floor. Mariah tossed her hair and chimed in. "This is hilarious! You're about to embarrass yourself in front of everyone. Do you really think these people care about a nothing like you?" I whispered, "This is my promotion day. Please, just go home." Dad shoved me so hard my shoulder hit the corner of the reception desk. He growled, "Promotions don't belong to mistakes. Leeches don't climb ladders. You're nothing. You'll always be nothing." Gasps rippled through the lobby. My coworkers stopped mid-conversation. An executive I had admired for months walked past, his face tightening when he saw me shoved like a rag doll. Mom raised her voice, her words echoing across the marble. "Trash doesn't get rewarded. Trash gets taken out, and that's what you are. You're nothing but garbage we should have thrown out long ago." My face flushed hot. I saw one of my colleagues whispering to another, their eyes darting between me and my parents. My stomach twisted. Everything I had worked for, all the late nights, all the effort, it felt like it was collapsing right there in the lobby under their cruel laughter. I begged, my voice breaking, "Please stop, please." Dad yanked me toward the glass doors again. "Stop? I'll stop when you stop pretending you're more than a useless maid. You think a company like this would actually put their future in your hands? Pathetic." For a split second, I thought I'd collapse. I thought they had won again, just like they always did, turning my proudest moments into nightmares. But then I noticed something. The digital display on the far wall of the lobby where the company's announcements scrolled in bold white letters. "Congratulations to our new regional manager, Jessica Lane." My name, my title, my victory. Right there, glowing in front of everyone. Mom's laugh faltered. Dad's grip loosened. Mariah's gum nearly dropped from her mouth, and the stares of my coworkers shifted, not at me in pity, but at them, my so-called family, who had just made a scene in front of the very company I was about to lead. But I didn't smile. Not yet, because what they didn't know was that this was only the beginning, and for once in my life, I wasn't going to let them walk away without consequences. The glow of my name on that massive screen should have been my proudest moment. But standing there with my dad's hand still clamped around my arm, my mom sneering, and Mariah smirking like she'd won something, all I felt was rage. Not the kind that makes you lash out, but the kind that makes you plan. Cold, steady, surgical. The receptionist whispered to the security guard, but before they could intervene, I forced a tight smile. "Don't worry," I said loudly so everyone could hear. "My family was just congratulating me in their own way." A few of my coworkers chuckled nervously, others shook their heads. My dad leaned down and hissed in my ear, "Don't you dare think you're safe here. We'll drag you out of this place if we have to. You're not keeping this money or this position. It should go to Mariah. She's the one who matters." Mariah crossed her arms, nails glittering. "That's right. You should hand it over now before you humiliate yourself further." Their arrogance gave me the fuel I needed. Right there, I decided they weren't just going to be ignored this time. They were going to pay, and not in whispers or behind closed doors, but in the same way they humiliated me. Loud, public, final. I spent the rest of that day keeping my head high, shaking hands with executives, and thanking colleagues who congratulated me. On the surface, I smiled. Inside, I was memorizing every single cruel word they had spat in that lobby, burning them into my brain like matches ready to light a fire. That evening, while my parents and Mariah no doubt celebrated their little victory in tearing me down, I began my work. I called in favors from the very people they underestimated, old neighbors they scammed, community members they humiliated, and a few local reporters who loved a scandal. I learned quickly that my dad had been bragging around town, claiming he had helped me land this job because the company owed him favors. He had signed deals under my name, promising people access to me now that I was promoted. Mom, meanwhile, had been telling anyone who would listen that I was a temporary employee who would hand over my salary to support Mariah's lifestyle. They weren't just cruel, they were reckless. And Mariah, she'd been posting pictures online, parading around in designer clothes she couldn't afford, using captions like, "My sister works, I shine." What she didn't realize was that her credit card bills were drowning her, and soon enough, I'd make sure everyone saw that perfect princess image for what it really was. One by one, I collected receipts. Screenshots of Mariah's posts, copies of Dad's bogus contracts, even a voice recording of Mom at a cafe telling her friend that she wished I'd just vanish for good so Mariah could finally be the only daughter worth showing off. Every insult, every fake brag, every fraud, I gathered it all. And I timed it carefully, because in less than 2 weeks, my company was hosting a major event, a shareholders' reception in the very lobby where they dragged me out. Dozens of guests, cameras, reporters, screens broadcasting live. I didn't just want revenge. I wanted them to feel the weight of every word they'd thrown at me. And I wanted the world to see the truth that the perfect parents and their golden child were nothing but liars feeding off me like parasites. So I prepared. Quietly, strategically, coldly. And for once, the stage they had stolen from me all my life was about to be mine. The night of the shareholder reception arrived, and the lobby gleamed brighter than I had ever seen it. Chandeliers sparkled, waiters moved like clockwork, and the massive screen behind the podium scrolled through highlights of the company's growth. My name flashed more than once. Jessica Lane, Regional Manager. And right on cue, like parasites who couldn't resist feeding, my parents and Mariah walked in. Dad wore his old blazer like he belonged among executives. Mom's perfume was so strong it clung to the air, and Mariah's glittery dress shimmered under the lights. They thought this was their victory lap. I pretended not to see them at first. I shook hands, posed for photos, and smiled at reporters. But inside, my chest thrummed like a drum. Tonight was it. Tonight, they would choke on their own cruelty. When it was my turn to step up to the microphone, the lobby hushed. I spoke calmly, thanking the company, the mentors, and even the staff who had supported me. I watched Dad's jaw tighten. He hated every second of me standing higher than him. Then I said, "But before I close, I'd like to share something personal, because success doesn't happen in a vacuum. Sometimes it happens in spite of what people try to destroy." I clicked the remote in my hand, The massive screen behind me flickered. Gasps rippled through the crowd as my carefully prepared reel began to play. First, a screenshot of Mariah's bragging posts. My sister works, I shine. Pictures of her shopping sprees, the unpaid bills I had copies of, even her begging strangers online for sponsorships she never delivered. People whispered, eyes darting toward her. Next, Dad's contracts. His forged signature pretending to be me, promising access to my new role in exchange for money. The dates, the amounts, the lies all right there. Executives muttered angrily. Shareholders pulled out phones, some already dialing lawyers. Then, Mom's voice, clear and venomous through the speakers. I wish Jessica would just vanish so Mariah could finally be the only daughter worth showing off. The crowd froze. Some gasped. A woman in the front row shook her head in disgust. I didn't flinch. I looked right at them as the evidence played out for everyone. For years, I said into the mic, they called me worthless, a leech, trash. They dragged me out of this very lobby laughing, calling me a fraud. But the truth is, they're the ones who lived off me. And now, everyone knows it. Dad surged forward, red-faced, shouting, "Turn it off! She's lying!" His voice cracked with desperation, and security immediately stepped in, blocking him. Cameras flashed as reporters captured every second. Mom screamed, "You ungrateful pig!" But no one listened. Executives were already whispering to each other, some shaking their heads. Mariah tried to storm out, but someone snapped a photo of her and the giant unpaid bill displayed on the screen behind me. The room wasn't theirs anymore. It was mine. I raised my voice one last time. I don't need their approval. I never did. And after tonight, they'll never use my name, my work, or my life to feed their lies again. Security escorted them out as the crowd stared, murmuring with shock. My parents fought, yelling at each other, Dad blaming Mom, Mom cursing Mariah, Mariah screaming back. Their perfect facade crumbled in front of every camera, every investor, every person they once bragged to. Ian and me? I stood steady at the podium, the glow of my name still lighting the screen above their downfall. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving them, I had ended their power over me. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.